The BMW 5 Series has always been a prized model by drivers, but it's also often been a source of significant problems. Not everyone who could afford a used model could afford servicing, but it couldn't be worse than the F10 generation. Production of the BMW 5 Series, codenamed F10, began in 2010. A hybrid version was offered to customers the following year, and a facelift took place in 2013. The appearance was slightly redesigned and new features were added, including LED headlights. From that point on, all engines met the Euro 6 standard. A year later, the diesel lineup was refreshed with the new generation of B47 engines. In 2017, the successor was unveiled. Regardless of its generation, the BMW 5 Series is above all a desirable car. Its ride comfort is top-notch. While it may not be as high as a Mercedes, the BMW handles better and is more driver-friendly. There are no complaints about the build quality, and the 5 Series was generally at the forefront of technological innovations. The car was offered in two body styles, a sedan with a 520-liter trunk and a station wagon with a 560-liter trunk. The new 5 was a technologically advanced car, though the same was said about the previous generation, the E60. Light alloys were largely used in the bodywork. During a pre-purchase inspection, it's worth noting that the roof, engine cover, and rear fenders were all made of steel. The front suspension uses aluminum double wishbones, while the rear is a multi-link setup with optional rear steering. Many cars are equipped with adaptive suspension and even an active stabilizer bar. The power steering is electromechanical, and the car is equipped with numerous safety systems, including active driving assistance. The xDrive all-wheel drive system is also available. This excellent on-road solution features an electronically controlled clutch that engages the front axle when necessary. The 5 Series F10 engine lineup is extensive, ranging from 2.0-liter 4-cylinders to inline 6s and finally to V8s. The top-of-the-line M5 model received a twin turbocharged V8 in place of the naturally aspirated V10 from its predecessor. Only the diesel engine lineup lacked the powerful V8, but the most powerful variant, developing 381 horsepower, was called the M550D. Initially, the gasoline lineup featured naturally aspirated 6-cylinder engines from the N53 family, the last for this model. Supercharged engines were also available, and after the facelift, only these remained. All engines utilized direct injection. The N47 diesel engines were replaced by the revised B47 design in 2014. Meanwhile, the N57 dominated the 6-cylinder engine family. It's worth noting the differences in turbocharging, as the N47 engine in the 525D, for example, used a twin-turbo system. The same applies to the N57 engine in the 535D, and the M550D had 3 turbochargers. It's worth noting that the model names aren't consistent with engine displacement, as was the case in earlier BMW models. The lineup also includes a hybrid variant, the 5-cylinder active hybrid, powered by a turbocharged 6-cylinder inline petrol engine. With the exception of the M5, all other models were paired with 6-speed manual and 8-speed automatic transmissions, all of which were ZF designs. In terms of driving qualities, engines with power outputs of 200 horsepower and above are ideally suited to the car. However, the diesel versions of the 520D deliver dynamics appropriate for the car's class, but even here, it's worth aiming for at least the 525D. Diesels have a huge advantage over petrol engines in terms of fuel consumption, averaging 6.5 to 7.5 liters per 100 kilometers, depending on the version. Petrol engines average 10 to 11 liters per 100 kilometers, which translates to real-world savings of 20 euros per 100 kilometers. This amount may not seem impressive, but in practice it translates to 200 euros per 10,000 kilometers, or an average annual budget. In the long run, this could cover slightly higher repair costs, although diesel engines are less problematic in the event of a breakdown, though not everyone is. Diesel engines, including the B47, use timing chains mounted on the gearbox side, which naturally results in higher replacement costs. However, it's worth noting that if you're buying a car over 10 years old, the timing chain has likely either been replaced or will need to be replaced. Service history is crucial here and can significantly impact the price. And this is not low, because if we approach the issue seriously and base the repair on good quality parts without giving up some service activities around this area, including seals or the crankshaft pulley, then a bill of 1,900 to 2,400 euros should not be surprising. In diesel engines, it's worth checking the condition of the swirl flaps, preferably at a specialized workshop. Repairs, or rather replacements of these components, can cost several hundred euros, especially in R6 engines. Six-cylinder gasoline engines are not without their problems. Quite the opposite. Injectors will also be expensive. Piezoelectric injectors were used in twin and triple turbocharged engines, including the B47, while solenoid injectors were used in the others. The difference is that the former cannot be rebuilt, so you have to buy new ones, about 700 euros each. If running costs are key for you, then apart from the fact that you should avoid a BMW, it's better to aim for a 4-cylinder diesel. If you're looking for the driving pleasure this model undoubtedly provides, I suggest at least the 530D. The ideal compromise between performance and practicality is the 535D model from 2011 onwards. Diesel engines are generally considered very durable and reliable, though not as reliable as previous generations. Only the M550D variant, which has been known to suffer from head cracks, raises concerns. However, the petrol engines are more questionable. The 4-cylinder N20 petrol engine is the worst unit in the range. A common feature of all petrol-powered cars is leaks and spills. If upon inspection you discover that the engine is leaking oil, you can be sure it's not from just one place. Another serious problem is the large amount of petrol getting into the oil, which causes a number of problems even at relatively low mileage. These include injector failures, half the cost of diesel injectors, carbon buildup, and blow-off valve damage. Other problems typical of gasoline engines in this model can be added to this list, such as water pump failures, particularly in the N55 engine, 535i. Another issue is the wear and tear of the Vanos system mechanism. In the N20 engine, there's a risk of failure of the oil pump drive and timing belt drive, which should ideally be replaced every 100,000 kilometers, costing around 1,200 euros including labor, timing belt on the front of the engine. This is practically mandatory after purchasing a par with this engine. When looking for a simple gasoline engine, you might conclude that the most sensible option would be the early production N53 engine, a naturally aspirated 6-cylinder. Unlike the X3 of that era, the N52 engine was not used. It was in the US. Is the N53 a better choice than supercharged engines? Unfortunately, no. This was one of the worst engines used in this model, though also one of the simplest. The fuel system was prone to enormous problems, and flooding the oil with gasoline led to the destruction of more than one engine. The same can be said for the supercharged N55. In my opinion, however, the riskiest engines are those from the N20 family, described in detail below, in part because of their popularity. And the most expensive to repair are the V8 engines, which I strongly advise against. Users don't complain about corrosion at all, which of course applies to accident-free cars. However, in some cars, moisture can be found under the rear floor mats, leaks from the seals, or in the trunk, door handle, headlight strip. In cars that have been in collisions, corrosion is often visible under the sills and in the engine compartment. The biggest problems are electrical. The BCM, body control module, is prone to failure, causing problems with the lights, central locking, windows, and mirrors. Satellite modules, SAMs, are also frequently affected. Repairing or replacing a used module costs Euro 240 to 480. Suspension, control arm bushings, stabilizer links, shock absorbers after 100,000 to 150,000 kilometers. Rear control arms are durable but expensive to replace. Adaptive suspension, leaks, electronics errors. ZF 8-speed gearboxes, durable with oil changes every 60,000 to 80,000 kilometers. If neglected, they can jerk and slip. Regeneration costs 1,800 to 3,000 euros. X-Drive drive system, leaks from the transfer case, shaft joints, multi-plate clutch.